Yes, you're watching the South Australian Sports Show. Poppy, this Saturday is a monster game.
It is, yeah. Looking forward to it, the Australian Champions League.
Well, monster games.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of champions, we've got a couple sitting here with an interesting format. In my day, we called it the old Lightning Premiership, and there was nothing more exciting than seeing a lot of teams, a lot of players, all on the same day, Bones, and this looks like a beauty.
And a lot of chaos. It was fantastic last year in its first year at Thebarton Oval.
Yeah.
Increased it by another team this year, and hopefully it'll be just as successful. Thebarton Oval is a great place to play footy, nice and close to town, so hopefully a lot of people drop in and have a look at really competitive, good country or suburban footy.
All right, there's 7 games, 7 clubs, 8 games, 1 winner. Just tell us a little bit, Scotty, about the teams that are playing in it. How you select the teams that are playing in this?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's difficult. There's 25 senior footy leagues in SA.
Wow.
And that counts the amateur league or the Adelaide Footy League as one league. So to do it in its infancy, this format, we felt as though it had to be over one day, in which case the teams are limited. So we started off, I suppose, with the amateur league covering Metro. Probably the Southern League and the Hills League were the next, and then we just tried to get a broad geographic spread and share the love, so to speak. But we felt also in the first 2 years that we can't ask people to travel too far. So, say for instance, it'd be lovely to have the team from Port Lincoln League. We felt maybe it's just a bit early days for that. So the furthest, I think this year will be probably Waikerie, and then Moonta.
You've got a great spread though. You mentioned Waikerie and Moonta, Riverton, Saddleworth, Barossa. Harndorf's always a good, strong team. Ranella, of course, last year's winners, and Prince Alfred Old Collegians. I mean, that is a really diverse but strong group of clubs.
Yeah, and look, the whole concept, I suppose, behind it is to see how one club in one league comes up against the other. They never get the opportunity. There's a lot of representative footy that happens, but when our feeling is that people want to play with their mates and win something with their mates.
2 15-minute halves. Were you surprised at how well it went last year?
Yeah, I just didn't know what to expect. Yeah, it was. It went well from a timing point of view, but in terms of the teams, you forget, like Thebarton Oval is a beautiful, old, established SANFL ground.
Yep.
The teams, particularly that came from the country, thought it was Christmas. Playing on that sort of ground. So
in the old Escort Cup, Bones, you remember this, but or even the pre-AFL competition, when you saw SANFL clubs lining up against AFL clubs, there was always that intrigue about how they might match up. This delivers the same sort of result.
Absolutely. Foster's Cup you're probably talking about.
Foster's Cup,
yeah. So, I mean, they were great competitions, and I think with the South Australian teams back then being in what was a lesser competition, it was a great thrill for the Glenelgs and the Norwoods and Ports and Sturts to go and play against VFL teams. Very similar concept. And look, it's year 2. It's hopefully builds stronger this year, and next year it can be stronger again. I think Scott's come up with a really good concept that the clubs are buying into, and now we just need to massage it, grow it, get a bit more dollars into it, and make it a real incentive for clubs to participate. But it's been overwhelming so far.
So 25th of March, obviously this weekend, $10 to get in for adults, $5 for children and concession, under 12 free. So no reason, with good weather promise, that they don't get a nice healthy crowd.
The fund, the profit goes where?
To the Little Heroes Foundation.
So it's a great cause as well.
Great cause as well.
fantastic cause.
Absolutely.
And also, but for these clubs too, one of the biggest thing about coaching in these sorts of leagues is you're always working hard to get practice games.
Yeah.
Now you've got an opportunity to play against different styles, different teams. To me, I think it gives you a really good grounding leading into a season.
Some interesting names too. I mean, Brett Backwell is coaching Prince Alfred, and he is so excited about exactly that, and really looking forward to it and growing his stature and his intel as a coach. So it's great for him. And we've got Michael Dowdy, Matty Yench from the Crows playing as well. So there's a couple of ex-Crows players playing and really keen on doing well. So I found it fascinating last year, the intent and approach from the players. They were really keen to win, and especially come finals time, it was full on. So it's a really good competition, and they're doing some great things in suburbs right throughout South Australia.
We know as athletes, if it's a short time frame,
Use that word very carefully, athletes.
Seriously. I'm trying to get you back, recall, but I'm only going to 2000. So, Let me say that you know as an athlete though that if I only have to do it for a short period of time, I'm going to go flat chat. When it's a 4 quarters of 15 minutes in this format, you go, got to pace myself a little bit, got to experiment, recover. 15 minutes, I haven't got a lot of time. So it would be pretty high intensity, I imagine.
It was surprising last year. We actually did it 2 weeks earlier, so we did it on the long weekend. So it was earlier, that was literally everyone's first trial game. From the first bounce of the first game, it was on. And the skill level was good as well. There's 28 players that are allowed per team per game, so it makes it even more intense.
Yeah,
they can rotate as much as they want. Run with 2 runners, one on the ground at one point of time. But yeah, it is pretty intense out there, which is great.
So you've got someone monitoring the interchange bench? Is there a... No.
Oh, look,
Very strict.
Yeah.
there's rules and regulations. They don't quite cover that yet. They cover that.
Where do you reckon it can go to, though, Scott? I mean, you've added another team from last year.
Yep.
You've talked about perhaps teams coming from as far away as Port Lincoln, or possibly basing the tournament, some of it in Port Lincoln, and getting to a point where the winning teams come and play off. Can you see it developing?
Look, longer term, and starting with next year, we'd like to increase the amount of sides. So whether Thepperton Oval's fantastic, whether that means being at a venue where we can run 2 ovals simultaneously is really the only way you can have more sides on the day. But very keen to get netball. If you look at the logo, there's a little netball on there. It was always the intention to have netball in from the start.
Okay. Great idea.
Is that because of your time you mentioned off air when you used to travel?
Absolutely. I just feel that, women's footy, fantastic, brilliant. There's enough happening in that space. The netball to me is, again, through country towns, netball, footy, that's your Saturday.
Yeah.
Kids watch and it's all
And I reckon the name Australian Champions League, Bones, lends itself to eventually having a team from interstate venture across the border.
You've read the document, haven't you?
I haven't, but I can sort of make some stuff up here. But you know what? It has got the ability to grow.
Scott mightn't tell you, but I know he's had conversations with, it's Broken Hill, for instance, and places just on the just put the toe in the water. Yes, and there's interest.
Yes,
and it's probably just a bit early this year.
Sure.
But I'd be surprised if next year that there's not maybe a team from Northern Territory, maybe one from New South Wales, one from Victoria.
Yeah.
WA might be a little bit difficult, but it'll spread its wings pretty quickly.
Fantastic.
Pretty impressive. I mean, could you see it? And I know we're speculating now, but could it become a Champions League? So, for instance, Broken Hill say it's too far to come down, but it's not too bad to go to Port Pirie, Whyalla, Port Augusta, so they run their own Champions League.
Absolutely.
And the winner of that league eventually comes
I think we've got to change Australia to the world.
Well, China are looking good at the minute, boys.
When we first took it to the AFL back in 2011, the original plan was to have every state represented and have regional qualifiers, and then work into to the finals. Probably biting off more than I could chew early on.
No, that's okay. That's great. Well
but
done.
certainly, to have little clusters to qualify would be perfect. Can I just say as well, which is due to Chris's generosity, that all the money does go into Little Heroes, but also Little Heroes then pass some of that on to Captain Courageous Foundation.
Fantastic. And I noticed sponsors here, the Rural Bank, Bendigo Bank, Elders, Sports.
JS Sports, yep. Look,
I mean, there's some great sponsors, and that's the key to these things succeeding in the early days.
Really lucky. Year 1, not much everyone wanted to see how it would go. Year 2, as you said, Rural Bank, Bendigo Bank, Elders, JS Sports, to name, they're our major partners. It's great that they're willing to take a punt.
What made you come up with the idea, Scott? I mean, we were talking off air, you're driving to a lot of country driving. It doesn't just go, oh, that's a great idea.
Yep.
How long do you reckon you were tossing it around on the road before you thought, I can actually go to Bones with this and say, this is a good idea?
Yeah. It took a while. As I said, I first went to the AFL back in 2011. It then went on the back burner because the AFL said, look, we like the idea, but we don't have any money to fund it, which is
because they're struggling.
Because they're battling a little bit.
All you needed was the money out of Gillam's ashtray. You would have been fine for 3 years.
That's right. But anyway, look, they've been supportive of the concept. But then the idea was then do it in SA first. It will always have a South Australian flavour. Just want to see people have fun, club versus club, community sport, that's what it's all about.
Sounds like the Grand Prix will be in Victoria before too much longer. The Australian Champions League, Saturday, 25th of March, down at Thepperton Oval. What time does it start, boys?
10 o'clock first.
10 o'clock. You need to get down there. It's for a great cause, and there'll be some great games. Stay with us. Still a bit more to come on the show.